So here's how to install our roll-up doors. This is our 8-foot by 8-foot, though you can make them up to 10-foot wide, and is made out of an 11 mil poly. So it's woven. It's a lot tougher than this type of plastic for repeated opening and closing. All we did is we put our single channel across the top and installed our plastic panel. So we have our 11 mil panel, and we added wiggle wire and channel in 3 places. At the top of the door, along the bottom of the truss. Here in the middle of the door, this is going to be our roll-up bar. And then at the bottom, which will help add weight and help keep it closed whenever it's real windy. You can add additional weight, like if you want to add a sandbag, like if you had a bad storm coming in. And we also still have our single channel along the sides here. And that holds this plastic down. But in the wintertime, if you wanted to, you could still wiggle wire this shut and get a better seal. You could add a single door off to the side of this main door that either comes from us, or you can buy a storm door from the big box store and add it between 2 of your uprights. So the first thing we're going to do is add our joint. This is going to be our roll-up bar. And so we'll add that here in this knuckle, and that'll give you some leverage to help make this turn. And as it turns in the middle, it's going to turn both sections at the same time. It'll roll up twice as fast. So we're going to install that. And then once it is rolled up, we're going to have 2 additional brace bars that'll keep this from being able to blow in the wind. We'll add a long handle, we'll roll it up, and then we'll add our 2 uprights with this kit assembly here. So this is our spacers. This will go from the outside of the upright to the guide bar. The bolts will go through it, and then on both sides of that pipe, we'll put a lock washer and a nut, and that'll hold the whole assembly together. So let's go ahead and add our crank here. Thing we're going to do is install the knuckle joint here. So we've got our Tech screws and our 5/16 impact driver, and we'll just put that through. We'll do 2 screws for safety. Then we're going to add our roll-up handle. And so this will actually sit along the ground even when you have it rolled up, and that'll help keep the whole thing from turning in. I'd almost cut it a little long and then decide where you want to cut it to where it sits along the ground. So let me demonstrate how this works. So you're just going to twist it. That rolls up the whole thing to where everything rolls up at the same time. There you go. And then we can that should just lock. So we've cut our handle extension roughly the same height as our guide post, or the same height as the upright. We put a ground post here. There's about maybe 1.5 feet into the ground, and the rest will go up here and be cut level with the top of the truss. And then that's where we will drill through this guide and then put our spacer and our bolts. So you can see the extension here. I'm gonna roll it up. This side is a little bit lower than the other. I'm gonna take out the wiggle wire and move it down just a hair. That'll help it roll up more evenly. So there is a degree of kind of just playing with it and figuring out where everything closes up well. Handle over here. I want it to hit the top at the same time. I might have gone a little too high on the other side. Whenever it's up and I'm ready to lock it in place, all I've got to do is walk it towards the center of the tunnel and drop this to the ground. Top to set our ground post, so that'll go behind here. This may come as 1 post in the kit, and then you can cut off the 2 foot, the ground foot above, and still have about 8 foot. Cut it to the top of the truss. The main thing is I need to put a hole for this end rail clamp. This pipe, the end rail clamp will receive this bolt through the splice that'll go between, and so it'll nut and bolt on one side of the end rail clamp, and then on this side of this guide in place. And then to help protect this whole joint from damaging the plastic here, we're going to put a little plastic sock on that'll help protect it. All right, so we're going to trim up this guide post. I'm just going to make it a little bit shorter here above the truss. And I'm going to find my bolt, end rail clamp, make sure that these are lined up with where that bolt is coming out. You can just eyeball it, so that's where our bolt will go through. So we have our 8-inch bolt going through our end rail clamp. Twist this hole to line up. And it does. I might lower the ground post a little bit. Just cut like a 1/2 inch off. So I went from the inside of the tunnel and I pushed the bolt through the end rail clamp in the corner. And now I can put my upright into the ground post, or a guide rather. Make sure that those holes are going to line up. So I'm going to slide my spacer and then my guide, go through those holes, and then the nut. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. This bolt is going to keep that from ever sliding around. Those line up. So now I can add my spacer. There we go. Make sure that's tight. Put the split washer and the nut. Now I'll tighten that from the inside too. All right, so that'll keep the bar from moving and help hold this tight. And then in the wintertime, if you really wanted to, you could add some single channel here to get you through the winter, keep this well sealed if you like. So we're going to roll it up, check everything. I can already tell right there that I want to lower my bottom post a little bit. So I'm just going to take this wiggle wire out and drop this thing all the way to the end. Put my wire back in, just kind of adjust it as needed. And then one thing I haven't shown yet is putting the protective sleeve around this joint, which it's actually best to do that before this step,